Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees lose another series. They are winless in the last 7 series, and they have only won one of their last 9 series. They're 5-15 in the last 20 games. They're 6-16 in the last 22 games. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Boston Red Sox. And let's be honest, the Red Sox own the Yankees in recent memory, or even at this point, more distant memory. And Rafael Devers specifically is the one that just is symbolic of what we've seen in Yankees Red Sox. And I feel like, especially in recent seasons, we can have a conversation about that, or we can have a conversation just about the team, which is really probably the better place to go. But I'd be hard pressed not to say, hey, like when you look at the Alex Cora era, right? Maybe we'll just keep it within those terms. The Alex Cora era, which kind of coincides with the Boone era. I think Cora, actually, let's look it up, because we know that Boone was 2018 and Cora was right around that time as well. Cora actually might have been 2018 as well. Let's see. Alex Cora became Red Sox manager in 2018. And so in year one, he wins the World Series and knocks the Yankees out in the process. Rafael Devers' first year as a Red Sox was 2017. And this guy hits homers, looks like a Gold Glove third baseman versus the team. Really doesn't matter whether it's Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park. Just absolute domination from Devers. And we're talking in recency because this is what happened in Game 3. That's the big story in Game 3 is Devers. But Game 1, just a horrific blown loss by the Yankees. Not a game which the Yankees really hit particularly well, but they were an out away, a strike away a bunch of times. And Clay Holmes, who, unbeknownst to me, he somehow made the All-Star team. I don't know how. They must have stopped the I know this is not true, but they must have stopped the voting or whatever it would have taken a month ago. That'd be the only reason to make any sense. And it's unfortunate because really, I think if it was just Judge and Soto, I wouldn't have a problem with that. If there was going to be one Yankee that I would have wished made it, and in a similar way had struggled recently after a hot start, it would have been Luis Gil, who ironically had a really, really good final game of the series, the rubber game. And so I might add as well, remember how I made a big deal about how the Yankees in rubber games, they were 6-0. I want to just check this, but I think they're now 6-4 in these rubber games. I mean, they were really off to such a good start. There's a lot of similarities to 2022 and 2023. And I feel like it's kind of fair to throw 2021 in the mix as well, but let's keep that out of the equation for now. But yeah, as far as the rubber games go, that streak came to an end with that Red Sox loss on Sunday Night Baseball at Fenway Park, which is kind of the beginning of this thing completely unraveling for the Yankees. Then it was the Orioles was 2, then the Braves is 3, and yeah, now the Red Sox is 4. So 6-4 now in rubber games, which that's not really a big deal, to be honest, anymore. But it just goes to show how much they've fallen off. Red Sox closer than the Yankees, and the Yankees are to the Orioles, at least on the loss column. Yankees are 4 back on the loss side of the Orioles. The Red Sox are 3 back of the Yanks on the loss column. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, to me, will the Yankees hit a spike again? Probably, because there is so much season to go, and you do have the trade deadline, which if there are certain moves made, that could get them going. But this is now the last 3 seasons. The Yankees have gone, I believe, at least as bad as 5-15 within a 20-game span. And that had only happened 3 times in seasons 1996 through 2021. Only 3 seasons. I don't know which ones they were, but now you've had 3 straight of that. So the lows are really, really low with this crew. I mean, that just can't happen. And 2022, they got off to an insane start. This year, to a lesser degree, incredible. Like what they were doing up until about mid-June was pretty special stuff, to be honest. And now it's like a reminder of what they are. So it's really hard to be optimistic at all. Like I've been saying for a while, I think that this losing is going to continue. I really, really do. I mean, you look at this lineup, it's bad. It's really bad. And when you're not getting top-notch excellence from Soto and Judge, which you haven't really been getting in Judge's case more recently, and Soto a little bit beyond that. And this is no slight to them. My point is that like when they're off their game slightly, forget about it. Now, the funny thing is this, game 2, they explode for 14 runs. So within this bad stretch, there have been a few games, I think about the 2 Blue Jay wins, where the offense has kind of erupted, but it's completely inconsistent and it's more bad than good. But Ben Rice hits, which needs to be discussed. He does hit 3 home runs and 7 RBIs in game 2. So he was kind of the hero for game 2, but that does get lost in the shuffle. It does. I mean, it deserves, conversation, but it's hard not to think about the colossal collapse in game 1 led by Clay Holmes. And the Yankees now are, it's either 1-6 or 1-7 in extra inning games. I want to say it's 1-6, but it's the worst record in baseball. So, blame it on the ghost runner all you want, but like, that's just unacceptable. Really is. And yeah, and then game 3, they just get shut out. Carter Crawford only threw like 70 pitches, maybe less than that in 7. It was actually definitely less than that in 7 innings. Luis Hill did a great job, but Rafi Devers gets the best of them again. So there's a lot to discuss in this series. And it's just very disappointing that this team continues to struggle. And the ways they are losing is nothing short of embarrassing, honestly. Game 1 was just full of boneheaded mistakes, whether that be on the bases, defensively, just really fucking ugly. That game, I think, felt like rock bottom, but then you get shut out, in game 3. Get shut out, and Rafael Devers just owns you, completely owns you. And, I mean, that's not going to change. That's not going to change. He has in his career 27 homers and 70 RBIs against the Yankees, with, I would imagine, probably a very good batting average as well. So they're slugging, and I think there was a stat that he, in his last 25 games against the Yanks, has either gotten a hit or a walk. That is completely unthinkable, honestly. Like, and so again, as I said before, I think the perfect way to say it is symbolic of Red Sox Yankees, but that's also taking the Yankees off the hook, because this is beyond Boston. This is beyond the AL East, which is problems. Yankees are not good for the AL East. This is just not a very good baseball team right now. And, I think you can use the injuries if you want, but that's part of the game. I mean, Garrett Cole went down, and they didn't skip a beat. I will say, Giancarlo Stanton, with the way he was hitting and the way this lineup is, huge loss, as well as Jason Dominguez. So, I'm not saying that isn't happening, but other teams go through it. It is part of the game. No one's going to feel bad for you. And in the case of Stanton, the injury is expected. He's going to get hurt. It's not like, this is like, you could have marked that down a while ago. So, I don't have any line of defense or, there just isn't. The Yankees now, their record drops to 55-37 on the season, which is now below a 600 win percentage. And it was crazy. They were flirting with a win percentage that was unsustainable. But yeah, while the record is still really good on the whole, it's not that special. I'm just saying it's not. Like, even in that context, that's how bad the streak has gone. 5-15 in the last 20 games. And it all, you can either say it kind of began either that blown save to the Royals by Clay Holmes, where they couldn't get the 4-game sweep, or, and I think this is maybe more fitting, was the Red Sox, was Rodon getting shelled in game 2, and then Sunday Night Baseball, Stroman-Trevino combo where the Red Sox just ran all over them, and from there, it's been disaster after disaster, and they cannot win a series to save their lives. In fact, the last 3-game series that they won was against the Minnesota Twins. That was a while ago. That was 10 series ago, overall. That was their last 3-game series win. So while the Yankees beat up on the AL Central, they have not done a whole hell of a lot versus the other divisions. Sure, against the AL West, they've been solid. But, whether it be interleague play, that's, fallen on hard times, but specifically that division, which has been a bit of a fucking problem recently, continues to rear its ugly head. So anyway, let's jump into this Yankee Red Sox series. And look, this is a team in Boston that's playing really good baseball. In general, their roster it doesn't really jump out at you, especially that lineup. The lineup is nothing. Um, it's nothing crazy, especially in Red Sox lineups that we've seen in years past, right? Whether it be Mookie Betts or Xander Bogaerts. Who else? I mean, obviously going further back, David Ortiz, Dustin Pedroia, but like even beyond that, there's good names that I'm not even mentioning right here. But like, there's been household names in that Red Sox lineup where you look at that top, from top to bottom, it's like, wow, this is really impressive. And the only guy that really remains, I think the only guy still on the roster from that World Series team in 2018 is Rafael Devers. So Jarren Duran, you can tell that's going to be a good player. I've been pretty high on him in recent years anyway, but you can tell he's going to be a staple at the top of that lineup. The Red Sox, they've had a knack for that, whether that be Johnny Damon, Jacoby Ellsbury. They do a good job of having that table setter. And so, look, I wish I wasn't praising the Red Sox as much as I am, but how could you not? How could you not from a head-to-head level? But anyway, I will try to digress. So, Red Sox Yanks, first meeting at the stadium this year. Took a while. Took, obviously, for them to not come to Yankee Stadium until July, is definitely longer than you want it to be. But look, with the new format and knowing that you play the divisional teams, 2 series at home, 2 series on the road, those things are more likely to happen. Whereas in the past, it was 3-3. So here, it isn't all that surprising to see that. But yeah, we saw Ben Rice at leadoff all series long, and of course, really exploded in game 2. That was special. And we'll get into that when we get to that game. But yeah, the lineup was basically similar the whole way through. The key thing that happens here, and he'll be okay, is Gleyber Torres leaves game 1 with a bit of a groin pull, and that's something that he's been dealing with. So I think he'll be back for the start of that Rays series. We didn't see him again. He was pulled in game 1 and did not play in games 2 or 3. So he'll be back. But again, it's just another bad thing for Gleyber that he is dealing with this nagging injury that isn't really going away. And it seems like it's something he's going to have to deal with unless they want to put him on the shelf for a while. But even as bad as Gleyber has been, although to be fair, he actually kind of did pick things up a bit in that Blue Jay series. Like, you can't even afford him to be out. That's how bad it is. Like, he is, as much as Gleyber Torres has struggled, he automatically is going to be batting no worse than like 5th or 6th in a given lineup with the state of this club. So yeah, you can tell that Austin Wells, and deservedly so, is kind of becoming more of that. I think he's going to get more of the lion's share of opportunities. Now, when it comes to the catching position, it's going to be a bit of a split, generally speaking, but I think Wells a little bit more here might play more than Trevino. But yeah, Volpe moved down to the lineup, which is deserved. Absolutely. Trent Grisham is going to play a lot of center field as long as Stanton is out of the lineup. And DJ LeMahieu bats ninth, more than not. And boy, for him, it is bad. And yeah, the final stats in this series may not be dreadful, but I just think this guy is done. I've been saying that a million times, but I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Pitching matchup in the first game, Tanner Houck versus Nestor Cortes. Nestor Cortes continues to be money at Yankee Stadium. That's what I was saying. If there's one, it doesn't get much better than that. When you look at the staff, and if you tell me Nestor Cortes is pitching Yankee Stadium, that might be about as ideal as it gets. He goes 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. It was a homer, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. So Nestor, he got screwed out of a win. The win-loss record isn't great, but a 3.41 ERA in the season for Nestor. Very, kind of under the radar. Again, I don't love the fact that he's been pretty much shelled on the road. I don't love that at all. But, hey, a whip of 1.08, 106 strikeouts, 111 innings, just a very kind of solid year for Nestor. And where things kind of shake out for me right now, he is definitely one of the more trusted starters in this rotation, as far as I'm concerned, at least. But again, I think that there's definitely things for him to work on, specifically on the road. But, hey, at home, he's been great. And Tanner Houck, who made the All-Star game, he pitched game 1 and struggled. I think what hurt him a bit was there was a rain delay that happened in this game around the 3rd inning. And I think Houck, he didn't respond well to it. He goes 3 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, only 1 of them earned as the Red Sox defense failed him. But it's 4 walks and a strikeout. That is kind of that's pretty ugly on his part there. And he has kind of, tailed off a bit, Houck, that is, after a really, really strong start. So, yeah, let's get into the game. Like I said, Cortes and Houck cruising. And then going into the bottom of the third, there's a rain delay. It wasn't that long. I want to say it probably ended up being give or take an hour long. But in that, it wasn't the third, actually. It was the fourth. But let's talk about the third inning. This was an absolutely inexcusable, just boneheaded bad play by DJ LeMahieu and Anthony Volpe. So first off, you have first and second, no out. And LeMahieu's up, and he grounds out. It grounds into a force out. They get the out at second, and DJ is barely safe at first on a play that he should have beaten out by a mile. But he wasn't hustling out of the box. And Boone tries to make it seem like he was hustling. He wasn't. And you can defend it all you want, but LeMahieu, he beat it out. He did. But the fact that it was even that close is just scary. So there's that, right? No harm, no foul. But then it's Ben Rice is up. First and third, one out. Runner on third is Volpe. Runner on first is LeMahieu. Rice hits a ball down the first base line. It's fair. Was it close? Yes, but it's ruled fair and was fair. And what happens is the first baseman Gonzalez steps on the bag. So Rice is out. And now all LeMahieu has to do is just try to get in a rundown, and presumably Volpe would score. But a couple of things happen here. A, LeMahieu does not get into a rundown. He basically goes into the tag of Rafaela. It goes from first to short, and Volpe does not score from third. Volpe's cruising into home. Apparently, he thought it might have been a foul ball, which is unacceptable on the one hand, because it was ruled fair. And even if it was close, just keep on going. There's no downside. Like, there is no reason to stop. So I don't know where worst blame goes to. I guess it actually probably ends up going to Volpe. But what LeMahieu did as a veteran is awful. You have to look behind you. If one of two things happen there, they probably score. If LeMahieu just decides to get in a little bit of a back and forth rundown, Volpe at that point, I'd like to think, would just, by luck, step on home plate. So just an awful look. Another just, not focused thing that this Yankee team does. And look, that's a bad indictment on Boone. I think that the problems of this team lay more on Cashman, and I'm not the biggest Boone fan at all. Really not. But I also understand that he doesn't have much of a say in what goes on. But what you can control is these mental miscues that are happening on. That does fall on you. And that's not a great look. They just seem like they're not plugged in at all. And that's been one thing that Boone always likes to say, in bad times. Like, hey, I forget the words that, his catchwords that he likes to use, but you can't say that now. You can't say that you like the preparation and the, again, the focus. Like, because it's not there. But in the fourth inning, the Yankees put up a 3 spot. And this was really thanks to a lot of luck, honestly. Soto walk, Judge walk. After a Verdugo flyout, Gleyber gets an infield single in the hole. So now it's bases loaded, 1 out. And that's where Gleyber has to leave the game. So Gleyber, I don't know where to begin there. It's not great. And it's funny, Gleyber kind of hustled down the line, and it goes to show, it's like maybe there is a reason why Gleyber doesn't hustle, because he's fragile. And that's not me, defending him, but hey, like, maybe he really has been guarding against this. But we've seen it for years for Gleyber, and I like to think that it's not like he's always been doing this year after year. But now you have a situation where there could have been an inning double play ball. Maybe. Wells could have beat it out, but Wells is up. And what could have been a 4-6-3 double play, everyone's safe. It goes from Valdez, I guess, to Rafaela, and they don't get the out. Not a great throw by Valdez. Not a great catch by Rafaela. The Yankees catch a break. Huge break. 1-0. Volpe then gets a bases loaded walk to make it 2-0. They bring on the lefty Bailey Horn, and Trent Grisham gets an RBI ground out to make it 3-0. But then LeMahieu grounds out. So you had a chance to really bust the thing wide open, and LeMahieu does not do that. So the Yankees didn't get a big hit that inning. Again, it was the Red Sox defense that failed them in a couple of key walks early, really throughout the whole inning. In the 5th inning, the Red Sox respond for 1. Romy Gonzalez hits his first homer of the year. It's off of Cortez to make it 3-1. Let's jump ahead to the 7th. Luke Weaver comes on. Weaver pitches a 1-2-3 7th inning. But then in the 8th, things get a little bit interesting. Valdez singles on a play where it goes off of Weaver's glove. So that was a little unfortunate. Then what happens here? Then you have Rafaela hitting a ball, a little chop in front of the plate. Wells is called for a throwing error. This should have been caught by Oswaldo. And Wells, maybe could have considered the safer play at first, but hey, I mean, it's the eighth inning. I get wanting to get the lead run, so you can't kill Wells there. And Oswaldo, I think, should have caught it. So now you have first and second. Jaron Duran then does strike out, but then the next batter with Willie Abreu up, Weaver throws it in, trying to pick the guy up at second, throws it away, and the runners advance up to second and third. But Weaver does the job. He gets Abreu to strike out and O'Neill to ground out, and so 3-1 Yanks. Let's go to the ninth inning. Clay Holmes comes on, and they were making him work, the Red Sox, but all was looking pretty good. Devers grounds out, Wong grounds out, and former Met Dominic Smith pinch hits and gets a pinch hit single. Okay, innocent enough. Game prolongs. And then it's Masataka Yoshida, who has really struggled this year. I kind of thought last year, first half of the season, he was really good for Boston and kind of tailed off towards the end. He had not hit a home run since April 20th. And on the eighth pitch of the at-bat, foul. I mean, it was a long at-bat. This started out 0-2. Holmes couldn't put him away, and he deposits one into the seats for a two-run homer. We're all tied at 3. Clay Holmes has been really bad for a while now. Really bad for a long while now. Bottom of the ninth, Justin Slayton comes on and puts the Yankees down 1-2-3. So that's just what happens. I mean, no resistance, no, nothing, no pushback there. 10th inning, Tommy Kahnle comes on, and to be fair, Kahnle's been good lately. I got to say that. But Rafael, who he's looking like he's a new Yankee killer dating back to last year, but specifically, I guess, this year, he hits a shot to center field out. 2-run homer, 10th homer of the year, gives the Sox a 5-3 lead. We go to the bottom of the 10th. Kenley Jansen comes on, the Red Sox closer, who should have made the All-Star game over Clay Holmes. Juan Soto starts off with a single. So, with Soto, as much as he's struggled lately, you can still count on him to get the big, in my opinion, you can still count on him to get the big hit of the big walk for the most part. He singles. But then Aaron Judge, who under the radar, he had a bit of a rough week. After that good first game versus the Reds, his homestand was not Judge's best, and he was entitled. Don't get me wrong, he was. But there were some key spots. First and third, no out. Crowd's going pretty, getting a little loud, getting into it, and Judge pops out to Rafi Devers. I think it was first pitch. Yeah, first pitch. And then Alex Verdugo, who at that point had been struggling. Now, I know I guess the day before he had a 3-hit game, but he pops out as well. I think that was first pitch. And then Oswaldo Cabrera grounds out, and Jansen gets out of it. Yankees lose 5-3. A disastrous loss in game 1. Absolutely disastrous. Let's go to game 2. Let's try to run through game 2. Now, the Yankees bats get going, really thanks to Ben Rice, and Garrett Cole wasn't good. And we know that Cole versus the Red Sox has not been good. Better at the stadium than Fenway for sure, but not nearly good enough. And we know that Devers specifically owns him. That's another thing. But Josh Winkowski didn't pitch so well. It was really honestly more the bullpen, but he wasn't great. 3 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, and a couple of homers. 1 to Rice and 1 to Verdugo. And for Garrett Cole, 4 1/3, 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, and a homer. So not a great Garrett Cole outing. So it's been very uneven. The first 4 starts for Cole have been a bit of a struggle. I have full faith in him when all is said and done by end of year. But hey, maybe this is one of those years where, coming off the injury, where he never is able to quite find it. But again, I'll trust that he does. But anyway, here, you have Oswaldo the last 2 games of this series starting at second base. Trevino, day game after night game, calling them out. He gets to start a catcher. Soto DHs, right? Where normally it's been Judge, Soto, DH, Judge, and Wright. And so, yeah, so let's see what happens here. First inning, Ben Rice, homer. So a leadoff homer for Ben Rice, second homer of the season, and he wouldn't be done there. We go to the third, and Cole gets into some trouble. He does. David Hamilton double with 1 out. Then with 2 out, base open, RBI single for Rafael Devers. I'm dumbfounded as to why Cole, specifically, who is terrible against Devers, why you would do that. You should have went against Emmanuel Valdez. Now, ironically, he walks Valdez. And then Masataka Yoshida gets a little dunk RBI single to make it 2-1. And then Reese McGuire, somewhat similarly, bloops one into left. He makes it 3-1 on an RBI single. But the Yankees do respond in the third. It's a 2-run homer for Alex Verdugo, his 10th homer of the year. And you know what was a little bit annoying on my end was Verdugo just was staring at the ball all day long, took fucking 50 million years scoring the plate. You know what, Alex? You've been garbage for the last month. The Yankees been losing like crazy. I'm fine with like the styling. I don't have a problem with that, but like there's got to be some context behind it. Like, what are you doing? You just like run around the bases and don't do that. And what you're doing is you're riling up the opponent even more. Now it didn't come to roost this game, but it might have in game 3. And I do generally like Verdugo, but that does bother me. So 3-3, and in the 5th, Rafael Devers homers, and he pimped it out. He watched it, and I can't blame him. Yankees can never get him out. Verdugo did what he did, and Devers kills Cole. And he does it again. So 19th homer for Devers makes it 4-3. Tim Hill would then come on to replace Garrett Cole, and Tim Hill quietly has actually been all right. Now, the thing with him is he doesn't get any strikeouts, so he's kind of like a Victor Gonzalez. He truly is like a Victor Gonzalez replacement, where he's been getting outs, limiting hits, but doesn't really get strikeouts. And so I don't really know how he's not pitching in high leverage situations, but I could see him slowly working his way into it, given the right situation. But in the 5th is when the Yankees do take the lead, and for good. And it would be a combination of Bernardino, the lefty, and former Yankee Greg Weissert. So with 1 out, it would be a Judge single, then a Verdugo bunt single. I like that. And then Anthony Volpe, the one thing he has done lately, because I think Volpe's at-bats have been truly bad, he has been able to get these doubles or like gap hits to left center. And it does happen again. It's a ground ball double for Volpe, ties the game before, sets up second and third. They intentionally walk Grisham. Weissert, that is. And then Wells pinch hits for Trevino and works a walk. So Austin Wells, I like that back quality. He works a walk as Waldo rips a sac fly. And they're very familiar with Weissert, specifically those guys, Wells and Oswaldo. I'm sure, were teammates of his in the minor leagues. DJ LeMahieu, he then gets an RBI single. And he had actually, I skipped over a part where he fucked up earlier in the game with a big spot to do something. And I want to say it was either a strikeout or a ground out. I'm not going to go back, but 7-4 Yanks. Chase Anderson comes on, and he is greeted by a 3-run homer by Ben Rice. And that breaks it open to 10-4. That's what you were looking for LeMahieu to do the night before, I should say. That makes it 10-4. Then Hill, 1-2-3-6. Hill, 1-2-3, not 1-2-3 7th. There was an error to start, but bottom of the 7th, Rice is at it again with Anderson still in the game. Double Grisham, 1 out single Cabrera, RBI single LeMahieu, and then another 3-run homer for Ben Rice. So 2 3-run homers off of Anderson. But that's 3 homers, 7 RBIs. He got a curtain call. Pretty special stuff. And for Ben Rice, definitely one of the few guys that you feel okay about there up at the plate. So 14-4 Yankees. 8th inning, Josh Maciejewski comes on, and he's actually looked pretty decent himself. So he pitches a 1-2-3-8, a scoreless 9th. The Yankees win by a score of 14-4. So now we go to the rubber game. And, the matchup, you didn't feel great about going in because Carter Crawford's been good lately, and Luis Hill hasn't. But Luis Hill was brilliant in this one, and that's the thing with him. I do have faith in Luis Hill, whereas I don't with Carlos Rodon, for example. I don't feel good about it. Hill has the potential to be really, really good. And it's sad that he missed out in the All-Star game. I know he struggled lately, but was it I guess the precedent set, the All-Star game rosters are a bit of a joke. Like, I think we've known that for a while now, and I can't blame them for not including Hill, but like you include Holmes, just a lot of mind-boggling decisions. And look, Hill might make it as a replacement for what it's worth, especially because a lot of the time starters get replaced depending on where they lined up around the All-Star game. So we may see Hill make the squad. And this certainly was an all-star type performance. But Carter Crawford, he ends up throwing, let's see here. Crawford ends up throwing 68 pitches in 7 innings. Like, what the fuck? 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. And those were 2 strikeouts by Rice and 2 strikeouts by Judge. And for Luis Hill, he gives up that 1 homer to Devers in the 7th. That was his undoing. But 6 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Like, really, like, you gotta love the no walks, 9 strikeouts. Just fantastic. And it goes to show that Luis Hill, like, he has it within him. Like, that is for sure. He can be dominant. There's no doubt about that. And that was great to see. So that's one really big bright spot. But yeah, this game was moving along so quickly, really, really quickly. It was like an hour in and you were already at like the 6th inning, just really unheard of. And then, yeah, I mean, let's just go to the 7th, honestly. Well, in the 6th, a bit of bad base running by Oswaldo Cabrera. Leadoff single, and then Trent Grisham lines out to second, and they double off Oswaldo. I've seen worse, but that's not great, especially because then DJ LeMahieu doubles the next at-bat, but then Ben Rice strikes out. So not a great... This was probably Ben Rice's worst game. Honestly, at the plate, I thought this might have been his worst game. So we go to the 7th, and there was a question of whether Luke Weaver would come in. That's a tough call. To be fair, Devers' career numbers off of Weaver really good. He's like 4 for 8 off Weaver with a double. But still, if you brought in Weaver to start the 7th, I would have been completely okay with that as well. What happens? Devers' opposite field homer, 20th homer of the season, gives the Red Sox a 1-0 lead with 1 out in the 7th. And so Weaver comes on to finish out the 7th. Then in the bottom of the inning, Soto leadoff double. And this was a situation where almost really bad base running, but the Red Sox defensively fucked up and Soto caught a break. He was kind of caught in between, but it all works out. But then Judge strikes out. Really bad at bat by Judge. Verdugo ground out. Moves Soto over to third, and then Volpe lines out. So that was a shot right there off Crawford, which they don't get it done. Then in the 8th inning with 2 outs, Rafael homers again. And you can tell he's going to be a pretty good player, I think, for the Red Sox. Rafael, 11th homer of the year. It's off of Luke Weaver, who's been really, really good this year. But he does homer there. Makes it 2-0. Yankees go down pretty easily in the 8th against Justin Slayton. 1-out walk Oswaldo Cabrera, and then a bad strikeout by Trent Grisham. He swings at ball 4, then DJ LeMahieu grounds out to third. Just a classic DJ chop to third. Great play by Devers on the bare hand. LeMahieu's got no speed. Michael Tonkin comes in on the 9th, and what happens with 1 out? Rafael Devers with one of the more impressive home runs I've ever seen. To be fair here, and my big thing is to pitch around Devers, Tonkin threw a pitch kind of way out of the zone, and Devers pulls it for a 423-foot home run. I mean, what Rafael Devers against the Yankees looks like the greatest player that ever lived. And so 3-0 Red Sox at that point. And then we go to the bottom of the 9th. Kenley Jansen comes on and he gets Rice, Soto, and Judge. And the Red Sox win the series, and deservedly so. And I feel like this is not something that should be surprising. And the Yankee struggles continue. 55-37. They are now 3 back of the Orioles in the division. 3 back, 4 on the loss side of Baltimore. And yeah, I personally don't think that the Yankees are winning this division. I know there's a lot of time left. There is almost a half a season, a little less than that to go. We're not even at the All-Star break, but I've seen what I've seen. I think the Yankees will make the playoffs. I do. But I think it's a wild card. Anyway, AL East stuff continues. That was the last homestand before the All-Star break. Now they hit the road for the last week before the All-Star game, and it'll be a 3-game set at the Tampa Bay Rays to start it out, and then they'll head to Baltimore to finish it out before heading to Texas, or the 3 Yankee All-Star representatives to head to Texas for the All-Star game. But the 3 matchups in Tampa, Carlos Rodon versus Ryan Pepio is game 1. Game 2 will be Marcus Stroman versus Zach Eflin, and then game 3 will be Nestor Cortez versus Shane Baz. I mean, look, I think these games are going to be tough, personally. Tampa Bay's 44-46. The Yanks are 4-2 versus Tampa this year, so not bad. A couple of 2 out of 3 victories, 1 at the stadium, 1 at the Trop. But hey, with the way the Yanks are playing, I look at Tampa, I look at these pitching matchups, they could easily lose the series again. It's winnable. Tampa really, whereas in the past they've been pretty good at the Trop, not so much this year, 23-25. They have a really bad -67 run differential, so the ingredients would theoretically be there to win this series. It can happen. But again, I think a safe bet here, the way they're going, is the Yankees will lose 2 out of 3. That's just the way it is. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. But this All-Star break, like I keep on saying, cannot come soon enough. When will the Yankees finally win a series? We shall see, but it did not happen. They finish off a treacherous homestand, getting swept by the Cincinnati Reds, and yet again, another series loss to the Boston Red Sox. Rafael Devers owns the New York Yankees. They lose 2 out of 3 to the stadium, and now they will head down to Tampa to take on the Rays.